On Larry King Now, the one and only Dr. Oz. Are you first now a TV personality and then a doctor?
I don't think so. My life, my soul, my calling is medicine. I'll always practice medicine primarily. And I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. If we don't manage obesity in America, no system will work.
It's the biggest concern?
Without any question.
Someone told me a good doctor always feels every loss. And every death always asks himself, what could I have done more?
Most doctors live on that little boundary of depression. When someone dies on the operating room table, I don't know if they died because I was so far away from success I could never have gotten them through it, or I was just one small little scalpel move away from saving them.
Plus,
I grew up like most of my generation believing that marijuana was something Satan was throwing at Americans and a communist plot. But I think most of us have come around to the belief that marijuana is hugely beneficial when used correctly for medicinal purposes.
All next on Larry King Now. We're at the new, beautifully redesigned Paramount Hotel in New York City, and I'm joined by America's doctor, the one and only Dr. Oz. He's vice chair and professor of surgery at Columbia University, director of the cardiovascular and complementary medicine at New York Presbyterian Hospital, where I had my heart surgery. His Emmy award-winning syndicated daytime show, The Dr. Oz Show, is in its 5th year, and returning this June, Dr. Oz will be featured in the 2nd season of the critically acclaimed ABC docuseries New York Med. And he also tells me he's got a magazine, too, The Good Life. When did that start?
Started 4 months ago. You know, when you start magazines these days, you do one magazine every other month to see if the folks like it.
Risky business, though.
It's a risky business. I was talking to Oprah about this because she has a magazine. We have the same publisher, Hearst. But, you know, it's been very fulfilling. The magazine sold out. And I think that there is actually a voracious appetite to give people health information where they are. Some folks want to hear it on television or hear it on the radio. But a lot of times you want to rip the pages out and put them on the door you open most frequently in your house, which is the refrigerator door, and take advantage of something that you can feel with your fingertips, because health is such a visceral experience.
So it comes out every other month. It has contributing writers and features like what?
Well, it's coming out every month starting now. But the beauty of the magazine is I can put people that I love. So Rob Lowe wrote an article for me on relationships, which he spent a lot of time honing and thinking about. I have a little piece that I always put as the last piece of the magazine about my prescription for the next month, things you ought to be doing. I always write the prologue, which is why this issue is important to me. And then inside of it, we just try to pepper it with things that touched your life. And we call it the good life because it's about what really matters in life. It's not about
I could do one on being 80.
You could easily.
I'd like to be 80.
And looking great at it.
What is this about your new May diet? You have a diet for every month of the year,
You probably could. May is a particularly important time for a diet because in May, people want to get ready for the summertime. They want swimsuit season, and yet they're fearful of swimsuit season because they've packed on a little bit of weight. The average person does every year a little bit extra. That covers up the beautifully shaped and defined muscles inside your body. So we've had a lot of success this year talking about programs for weight loss, not just simple little gimmicky tips, but overarching concepts. We've had several million people download the 2-week diet plan. And the May diet is an extension of that. It gives you ideas that we think are important understanding and redefining what obesity is in America. And Larry, this has become the single biggest drawdown on our national budget for health in the country. And I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, if we don't manage obesity in America, no system will work.
It's the biggest concern?
Without any question.
Why? Because it leads to so many problems?
Especially
diabetes, heart?
You know it well. The belly fat, the omentum fat, leads to diabetes, heart disease, increases cancer rates, cholesterol issues. All these derive from extra belly fat. And if you think about it, the fat is there to protect you. There's a value of it being there. We just don't realize it. We need it. Why do we need it? Because historically, we always needed to have a little reserve just in case. And if you think about it, chronic stress is all about famine. That's what chronic stress used to be. It wasn't a deadline and rushing to get over here to the studio. It was about literally not having enough food. So the hormones we release when we feel chronic stress are ones that make us overeat things we don't like and then store it in our waist. If I look and see someone with a big waistline, I can always guarantee they're not coping with stress well. And so the diet programs that work are the ones that respect that reality and deal with inflammation in the body. They don't just tell you to eat less calories, because a calorie isn't just a calorie. Some calories are metabolized better, some lead to more hunger, some lead to less hunger. Using the smart tools we have available to us, we can cope with obesity much more impactfully.
What's the essence of the May diet?
The essence of the May diet is two things. Number one, recognize that the toxins are involved with your weight gain. And so if you can at least do a little bit of a cleanse to resuscitate your liver and get that to be part of the solution rather than part of the problem would be helpful. And number two, deal with inflammation in the body. And inflammation, of course, is caused by many of the foods we eat, many of the things we experience, but primarily we deal with inflammation through the foods that are good for us rather than bad for us. So the sun gives us the nutrients, all those beautiful colors to the roots of vegetables. Any colorful fruit or vegetable has antioxidants that will kill off inflammation.
Go by the color.
Go by the color. The more the better. The rainbow food.
Our mutual friend, Michelle Obama, hate to drop names, but we both know her well. She has had a lot of effect on this, hasn't she?
So I was actually at the White House last week, but you'll never guess why. I was performing, doing a little rap tune.
You dance?
Just the other day, see me on the show. Didn't know I had style, didn't know I had flow for sure. Larry, he said, I told you, Larry. He's laughing at me.
What were you doing there?
So she asked me to participate in their Easter egg hunt, and she wanted to have a little piece. I did that with Dougie Fresh, and when the first lady came on my show the very first time, she taught me how to do Dougie, which is this fun little dance, which I had no idea how to do. But he's a wonderful rap musician in the city of New York, and he makes songs now that kids resonate to. If you get young people to celebrate life through dance and music, they'll start paying attention to the message. So as opposed to hearing my calcified neurons chatter on about eating well, we put it into a rap tune, which we performed at the White House, but it's a great single. You know, we have a lot of great artists involved in it, and it's really all about making it cool to be healthy. And when kids hear it, they want to, you know, they just, you know, have to come together for some facts, kick a little. You know, it all of a sudden becomes part of what they'll sing, and the lessons in there are all about doing the right thing for your body.
Do you support Obamacare?
I think we needed to have a program to help all Americans get access to health care.
We were the only industrialized nation without
it. But if you look at the dilemma you face as a physician, and I still practice medicine at the hospital, you had heart surgery, you were kind to mention it. One of the biggest dilemmas I face is when I know what to do for somebody, but I can't afford to do it for them. What do you do when someone's dying in front of you and they need a heart transplant, but they don't have insurance? Well, you're left with that untenable moral dilemma. But Obamacare...
I think health is a right.
I think everyone has the right to get access to health. Whether you achieve it or not is up to you.
Right.
But
the access should be there.
Absolutely. I think it should be essential. And it sinks the system. Not having health care in an economy, in a system like ours, means that you're like a rudderless ship coming into dock. The ship will hit the port, bang it, destroy itself, spill oil all over the bay, destroy it for everybody else, and it's a lot more expensive to clean up. So I'd rather just have a captain at the helm taking care of the ship of health in this country, and you have to have a way of affording care to everyone. Now, here's the dilemma, though. The part of Obamacare that was done was the easy part. Actually, crazy as it is, getting care to everybody is easier than how to curtail the expensive parts of health care. That's the part we have to focus on now. But I think it's an iterative process. Get the care for everybody, then figure out where to ratchet back on expense.
Coming up, we'll do a day in the life of Dr. Oz, if that's possible. Don't click away. We're back with the famed Dr. Oz. Are you first now a TV personality and then a doctor?
I don't think so. My life, my soul, my calling is medicine. I'll always practice medicine primarily. I love medicine. I love the show too. But when you go on to the television show and you live this, you got to look in the camera and you have to pretend someone real is back there. If you begin to believe the BS about the camera and your relationship with it,
I never bought that.
Never works. And it's readily apparent because people see us in a very tight frame. And although you're the host of the show, you're actually a guest in people's homes, right? Because they're inviting you in. And the people you bring into their home better be darn good or they're not going to invite you in tomorrow.
You were a natural, though, at it, though, right?
I loved teaching. I always did. And I always have thought about the show as an experience that's primarily about passing along knowledge.
So when do you tape and how do you deal with patients? Give me a day. So what time do you get up?
I get up every day at the same time, 6 o'clock in the morning. I could do a quick little yoga thing, 7 minutes long, then into the shower and off to work. And I either round on my patients or I do script reviews at 7 in the morning. Thursdays, I head to the hospital and I do rounds with my residents. I operate all day long. I see patients in between cases. On Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I head to the studio and I do my rehearsals, and then we tape our 2 shows, do one in the afternoon, one in the evening. That way I bank an extra show so I can take a day to go to practice medicine. Monday's an administrative day and I reserve it for other media requests.
What do you do if on Tuesday someone is in the hospital, rushed in, that needs immediate heart surgery, and you're on call?
I don't take call on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I have wonderful partners at the hospital. We have a very clear working relationship. I trained most of them. And the ones that didn't train taught me. So everyone, one way or the other, has a relationship with me. But you don't want to be in a situation where you can't 100% focus on the person in front of you. And it is a metaphor I use in the show as well. When you're focused on the show, focus on the show.
I must have you reply to this because you can't be in the public eye without some critique.
Please.
The New Yorker does a story, praises you a lot, and then says, it almost daily you employ words that scientists shun, like startling, breakthrough, radical, revolutionary, miracle. In each of these instances, you've been criticized by scientists for relying on flimsy or incomplete data.
Yep.
How did you respond? I never heard you publicly respond to it.
Well, it was a thoughtful piece. I spent a lot of time with the reporter. I knew he had, a bias, which is we all have biases, and his was that you need to have very solid scientific data before you say anything. My philosophy has always been, in the field of medicine, we don't practice that way. In medicine, we do the best we can to get solid data behind what we do, and then we have to jump to the next level to give you real advice you can use in your life. It's that extrapolation from where we know we're safe to where you need advice that defines the art of medicine. On the show, I do the same thing, and my litmus test for whether I talk about it on the show is a very simple one. Would I recommend it to my family? As long as I would tell it to my family, I'm okay with going with it. Even though I know oftentimes, if I'm talking to you about the value of prayer in recovering from an illness, I can only base it on personal experiences, seeing people pray and seeming to recover or at least cope better than they would have otherwise. Is there scientific data that prayer makes you live longer or better? No. But it's still an advice I would give to my family, and I have, and that's why I share it with the audience.
To back up what you said, I've interviewed some doctors once who said doctors should be optimists. In fact, no doctor should ever say you're terminal, because no one knows.
Nobody knows, and we've all made that mistake. And like any other scenario, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. We have to be actually more than just optimists, irrational optimists. We have to have confidence when no one else does, because who else is going to root for you in your time of need?
Did you react poorly to the article?
It was hurtful in some areas, but I thought in other areas he was very fair. Listen, it's part of being in the public eye. I know it's not personal. It's more about this movement that we're involved in, this conversation that we're catalyzing across this country. If I think back 5 years ago before we started the show, a lot of the ideas that have become fairly commonplace, ranging from the seemingly mundane, like how often you go to the bathroom and what shape your poop is, to whether you're going to use Garcinia cambogia to lose weight, and is it really fat or carbohydrates that make you fat? Those are all conversation points that have become much clearer now. And it's not just our show, but we certainly played a large role in that. And if you're going to be in the kitchen, you're going to make some noise, it's going to get hot, and you're going to break some eggs.
How, as a cardiologist, did you know so much about other areas of the body?
I'm a cardiac surgeon, and before you can become a heart surgeon, you first have to be a general surgeon. That's the process of training. So after my 4 years of medical school, where you have a very general exposure, I spent 5 years learning about every part of the body.
Where was this? Where did you go to school?
I went to Harvard, and then I went to Penn, and then I did all my residency at Columbia. So I spent a lot of time learning how to take care of the bones and the brain, and But then finally, in my case, I graduated to the heart, which is where my love was. And the heart has been, I've loved it because it's our most poetic organ. And it literally is like a python, a serpent in your chest.
Romantic, too.
It is romantic, and it's the internal metronome.
You know my heart surgeon, Wayne Isom?
I know Wayne very well. Four-fingered Wayne.
Wayne is the old school.
He is.
Wayne is not going through the elbow and going through here. How do you balance between old and new school?
You want both. There's muscle memory and historical precedent that folks who've been there for a while have. They've made mistakes. They know not to make them again. Surgeons make mistakes. We're controlled arrogance. That's what surgery is. But you have to learn from those. And so folks who've been doing it for a while, like Wayne, who's a superb surgeon, know that. On the other hand, you have to continue to break boundaries and bust through the clutter of dogma in order to continue to reinvent the field. So I've spent a good part of my life developing mechanical heart devices and devices that repair valves without any incision. Forget about going under the arm. The operations we do now just are with a catheter. And I'm not talking about just for artery blockages. I'm talking about for replacing and repairing valves of the heart.
You can go through a catheter. You can go
with a catheter.
Through the vein and
in the legs. Yeah, we wrote those patents at Columbia. That's what I did when I was, I spent a good part of my life involved in that.
Why do the Waynes resist that?
There's two reasons. One, you appropriately as a surgeon have to think you're the best. I've never met a surgeon who did not think they were the best. That arrogance to think I can open your chest with a knife and do you good, you can't shy from that. But I think Wayne and others who have been leaders in the field now respect the fact that these new approaches absolutely work. We've done a 1,000th case, Larry, our 1,000th valve replacement case with this device, the main one, this year. And I'm having the big celebration at my home because I think it deserves one.
After the break, the critically acclaimed New York Med is back for a second season. And Dr. Oz will tell us what we can expect. We're at the beautiful Paramount Hotel in New York City. Stay with us. We're back with Dr. Mehmet Oz. Dr. Oz hosts the fabulously successful syndicated Fifth 5 years. Who'd have thunk, huh?
Who'd have known?
It's been 2 years now, and New York Med is back. Now, to the benefit of our viewers, what is New York Med?
New York Med is a behind-the-scenes review of what happens in a major urban hospital. It's shot at the hospital you had heart surgery in that I practice in, and these camera guys are like flies on the wall. You don't even know they're there, and you're living your life, which tends to be a lot more graphic and interesting than ER. By the way, the show ER was greenlit by one of my roommates from college, who had spent time with me in the ER at New York Presbyterian.
So this is real reality.
This is real reality, and it's as gripping as ER could ever be. And
so you're one of the doctors on it?
No, it's not about me, it's about the hospital. I happen to be pretty active, so they cover patients that I'm taking care of. There's one gripping scene where a young man who's an actor comes in, and he has this terrible pain in his back, and it's a dissection, a tear of his aorta. It's what killed John Ritter, what killed Einstein, what killed Lucille Ball, this very common problem. And this guy's dying in front of my eyes. And to have cameras there and witness this whole process, and the skate save that keeps him alive, all these are parts of your life when you're at a hospital like your Presbyterian. But to be able to show it on camera for the first time, it's just unbelievably gripping.
We're going to show you a clip now from New York Med.
Is it the pain you had before?
No, it's in my back and it hurts.
Okay.
I don't want to die.
That's not going to happen. I'm going to stay right here.
Damn it, come on. Make sure we still got a pulse. You're not going to die. Sit back, sir.
Why did it get such rave reviews? Why do you think it captured the people so well?
I think the authenticity of it was unique for viewers. We all look at reality television and you sort of think, hey, they told that person to say that dumb thing, or they told them to go to a bar and get drunk. When you're capturing someone who should be dead and they're just gripping to the precipice of life, trying to pull themselves out of that darkness, the deep area of Never Land, you can't help but stare at it and you can't look away.
Nothing staged? Nothing
staged. It's as authentic as it could ever be, which was the part that was most amazing to me. The talented producers that have to be able to live inside of us, literally, walk where we're walking, be around us, but not get in the way. It's very hard to have someone open up to you, have a soulful conversation, which is what we all crave. Everyone who can watch the show now, they want that authentic moment when you and I look in each other's eyes and understand what's going on, because they can see that and witness that. And that happens all the time in hospitals. It's just hard to get on camera.
Some other things, for sure, great to talk to. The good doctor, someone told me, a good doctor always feels every loss, and every death always asks himself, what could I have done more?
There's no question.
True?
Absolutely true. Most doctors live on that little boundary of depression because you always think you could have done more. When someone dies on the operating room table, I don't know if they died because I was so far away from success I could never have gotten them through it, or I was just one small little scalpel move away from saving them. And that's a very, very heavy load of skeletons to keep in your closet. And I was talking about this with my daughter, Daphne. My oldest daughter hosts a show on ABC called The Chew, and she just had my first granddaughter, Philomena. I'll give you a picture of her. But Philomena, I was looking at her, and I remember when Daphne was first born, because I was a senior in medical school, and when you rip life into reality, which is what giving birth to a child is all about, you have to juxtapose it with the opposite side of that, which is when you shove life out of existence. This is how you take it personally as a doctor when things don't go well. And when I was a young doctor especially, and I still take it very personally when someone doesn't do well, I'd come home in this terrible down state, and the kids would come to me and say, Daddy, let's play horsey. And it would remind me what life's really all about, which is the resilience we all have to bounce back from losses and to celebrate life wherever you can find it.
I asked the famed Dr. DeBakey once, do you take it home with you? And he said, of course you do. If you don't, you shouldn't be a doctor.
Dr. DeBakey was a mentor of mine as well. Every good surgeon, every good doctor takes the loss home. And that's always been the challenge, I think, for a lot of us. How do you heal the healer? How do you take an oncologist taking care of kids and get him to forget a 6-month-old who just died without having a chance to really taste life? But that's the challenge of being in the medical profession. And I think one place where we sometimes fail in America is not respecting that reality and not giving the time it needs. I used to write, in fact, I started writing as a therapeutic tactic to cope with the losses of patients, because I was a heart transplant surgeon dealing with people who are dying all the time. Sometimes they're dying before you even touch them because you couldn't get a donor.
Have you changed your views of marijuana?
I have. I grew up like most of my generation believing that marijuana was, something Satan was throwing at Americans and a communist plot. But I think most of us have come around to the belief that marijuana is hugely beneficial when used correctly for medicinal purposes. We pervert its use sometimes. I don't think it should be widely used, certainly by kids, because it creates a dependence that's unhealthy in any setting. But it absolutely should be widely available in America. And we've created one of those hypocritical paradoxes where in New Jersey, where I live, for example, I'm allowed to give you marijuana medicinally, but I'm not allowed to buy it. So now what do you do? I have to break the law to follow my doctor's orders.
Is there anything about the body you will not discuss? Any area of the body that you won't deal with until, like proctology?
Oh, I've spent a lot of time on proctology. Believe me. I've got a show this week on tampons that got lost. I've got...
Every specialist always tells me, and I've done this for 57 years, that theirs is the most important. And I had a proctologist once, and he said the whole body revolves around what he does.
I'll tell you the joke that I give all my proctology friends. You know why doctors use 2 fingers for rectal exams?
Why?
Second opinion. I'll be here all week, folks. Try the corned beef.
Are we going to cure cancer?
We will cure cancer in our lifetime.
Heart disease?
For sure, we are already getting way ahead of heart disease, and we'll be able to prevent death from coronary disease unless people really do almost nothing to help themselves.
Well, what are you going to do then when everybody lives past 100?
The major battle we will face in America, without question, it's the one that worries me the most, is dementia. We're now a nation where most of us, if we do things right, most people can hear my voice right now, can live to 100. What will afflict most of us is loss of memory and worse. And we have to get better at dealing with what is essentially diabetes of the brain. It's an inflammatory product of often the obesity we're carrying around. And if we don't cope with that inflammation, we're going to have a lot of people lying around in convalescence homes.
When we come back, Dr. Oz will take your questions. Some questions. Heather L. Owens on Instagram. What are your thoughts on stem cells to use cosmetically and otherwise?
Heather, I'm a big fan of stem cells. I think they have a lot more potential than we've uncovered so far. Right now, we're using things called vampire facelifts, where we take some of your blood and infuse it into the face to give this face a chance to rejuvenate itself. They work in part because you have these cells that are good at creating a change, but they also probably have stem cells in them. And I think we're going to get big advances, not just in cosmetic issues, but also in spinal paralysis and in Parkinson's.
Buff Vexo on Twitter. How many supplements can someone safely take in a day without causing bad interaction?
Well, when you're taking more than 6 pills of any kind, there's a 50% chance you're going to have an interaction. It may not be a significant one, but it makes me worried. I personally take a supplement, but I take the lowest dose possible. I take them at the doses I could have gotten from real foods. So vitamins A, B, C, D, and A, the alphabet, again, in doses I could have gotten from carrots or lemons or whatever. And then I add a little bit of omega-3s, because they're huge for the memory, but also for joints and reducing heart issues. But that's omega-3s are fish oils.
It's great for joints.
It's fantastic. Also for the brain. And then I take a little extra vitamin D, because most people don't get enough, especially in the winter months. But that's my basic foundation. That's what you should be getting anyways, a safety net.
At Ken Dawson on Twitter, what's the quickest way to realize something's a scam in terms of health care? Is there a lot of scams going on?
I just busted a terrible group in San Diego for scamming me. They were using my name to try to sell products. You know, I don't sell any products at all. And so they were claiming I was, and then they were actually selling a product that only had 10% of what it said it had in it. So I went out and surprised them, and they ran for the hills like rats. It was fascinating to see. So here's how you can tell. First, if you have a celebrity associated with it, be dubious. Most of us aren't going to sell our names for cheap to a company.
Unless you see the person actually saying it.
Unless you say, I like this specific product. Not, I like vitamin C, but I like this brand vitamin C. Number 2, look for testimonials, especially if they're done within a couple hours of each other, because they're probably planted. And finally, if you can't read the fine print, literally, if the fine print is in a font you can't read or the color's the wrong color, they're scamming you.
Professor Marguerite, how do you keep your skin so firm?
Moisturize, moisturize, moisturize.
You have never had work done.
Never had work done. I think I need something done. Are you trying to tell me something?
No. Roll 1, 2, 3 on. Why are there so many bad jobs where you see someone say, oh, come on, that's terrible?
The bad jobs happen because people ask for procedures that shouldn't have been done, and unethical plastic surgeons sometimes do it. Here's the story, I think. We don't want to look 40 when we're 80. We want to look good for 80. And there's a difference.
Right.
So I'm 53 now. I don't want to look 20. I wouldn't mind looking 40, but what I really want is to look really good at 53. That's my goal. And most women out there, if you really probe into it, that's what they want. We all value beauty. Beauty is an external reflection of your inner health. It's a barometer of how healthy you are on the inside. So you want to look good for your age, but you want to look your age.
Rowan123 Instagram. Have you ever diagnosed a patient and then you were way off?
Oh, I made plenty of mistakes. Every doctor has.
Second opinions are important then?
30% of the time, a second opinion will change your diagnosis or treatment. I'll say it again.
30%.
1 in 3 times, the second doctor will either disagree with the first doctor's treatment or the diagnosis. So please get a second opinion. It is the best way to make the system better. Patients are intimidated about asking second opinions. Please don't be. It makes the system better. You're like butterflies fertilizing the flowers of medicine. We become better doctors if you come back to us and say, you know what, I asked another doctor, and he said, well, maybe I should do this. It will always inform us, and every other patient we see will benefit because you were brave enough to push back on our diagnosis.
Jeff Abramson on Twitter. What's your workout routine?
I do 7 minutes of yoga every morning to stretch myself out and I do 100 push-ups and 50 jackknife sit-ups. Then I'm off to work real quick. At nighttime, if I have time, I'll do something active. But my real workouts happen on the weekends where I play a couple hours of basketball in the morning or tennis or something else where I can beat someone or I can get beaten by somebody. I like to compete a little bit. And then I do longer workout sessions with my wife. It's one of the things that I think brings us together. Because in yoga, it's not about how loose you can go. The looser you are, the more you're a loser. It's more about experiencing it.
You're the best, man.
Love you, man.
Dr. Oz, a big thanks to a great guest. Be sure to watch the second season, by the way, of New York Med. It premieres June 24th on ABC. Check your local listings to find out when the Dr. Oz show airs in your area. And you can always find me on Twitter at King's Things. I'll see you next time.